Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to this session about Salesforce DX and unlocked packages. Just before starting, does anyone know what Salesforce DX is? Or is there someone that haven't heard at all about what it is? Do all of you know what is a Scratch org? OK. That's cool. So, a quick intro slide. So who am I? My name is Fabien Taillon. I'm a consulting partner in France. I'm a Salesforce MVP, so CTO at Texay, which is a French company. I'm running the Paris developer group, and I'm part of the French Touch Dreaming team, which is a dreaming event like Taoe Dreaming or some other event you may have heard of. So if you want to come to Paris, next one is in 15th of November, so we'd be happy to see you. So this one is not working. So a really quick slide intro about Salesforce DX, but at least you know what DX is, so that's pretty cool. The whole idea of DX is just to move from a sandbox-based development to a source code development. So all your source code and the source of truth is now part of a repository. You can cover the whole life cycle like you would do with any other technologies like, I don't know, .NET or Node.js or whatever. And everything can be automated through CI and CD. I will go quickly, as you all know this kind of thing, and I have lots of slides after. So the other thing is unlocked packages. I think this is always in beta, so maybe not all of you know what unlocked packages is. Does anyone already use unlocked packages here? OK, only a few of you. So it was called like packaging 2, which is sort of new version of what you can do with Ant or with ChangeSet. The idea with packaging 2, so let's say unlock packages now, is that you build them directly from your source. So you don't go to a sandbox, like create a ChangeSet, pick stuff manually, and then try to upload it somewhere. You really start from your repo and say, well, this folder with all this metadata, create a package with this thing. The nice thing with this is that if you upload several packages into your org, you can say that one metadata can only be part of one packages. So it's sort of to say that one team, or at least one package, is responsible for one metadata. So you shouldn't have like two teams modifying the same metadata without you knowing. One metadata, like I don't know, an Apex class or a custom field, is part of one package and has only one owner. You install the whole project, so it's really like a package is a full project that you deploy. It's not like with ChangeSet where you say, well, compared to previous version, I will just have one new Apex class and a few new fields. I just deploy the delta between the two. Here you install the whole package every time. It's sort of like an Apex Change when you install an Apex Change. You have version number, which means that you can really see where you are in production. Let's say today, if I deploy everything with ChangeSet or with Ant, well, I can't really know what was deployed in production or not. I can just say, well, in the latest release, I know I updated this Apex class, so I can have a look to see if it's deployed or not, but it's not really tracked. Here, you can go to the list of packages and see that, well, I'm at project version 1.2. So I really know what is deployed in production. I can see the list of packages, and it's much more clear than what we have with ChangeSet, where we just sort of copy-paste stuff in the API soup. One cool thing is that it's dealing with deletion. So so far when you deploy something, if you have one package and then another, it's incremental, so it will add new stuff. But if, let's say, you deleted an Apex class or a custom field, it's up to you to do it either manually, or you need to create a destructive change package XML to do it for you during the deployment. Here, as you are deploying the same project all the time, and the full project, it will compare the two versions. So if I'm installing version 1.2, whereas it's 1.1 that is installed, it will just look at the differences, install new stuff, and delete stuff that are not part anymore of the package. So that's pretty cool. And the most important thing is that it's repeatable and predictable. So if I install version 1.2, I will always have the same result. It will be 1.2 installed. Whereas with ChangeSet, it may depend on what's around. If you have dependency that you forgot, if you forgot to delete some stuff manually, you may have some issues. Here, you install the package, you have the package. So it's much more, you're much more secure when you deploy. So one important part of DX is to modularize your code. So I picked this slide from Salesforce presentation because I like it. It's really like currently in your org, you have lots of metadata, but if you have, let's say, 5 projects, you can't really say what is part of one project, what is part of one another project. Maybe you have like naming convention that will help you, but otherwise it's what's so-called happy soup, where all your metadata is like in a giant org, and you don't really know what is part of what. So the idea with DX is to say, okay, I will start to take some box in the happy soup and put them in one project or another, saying, so this field is part of this project, this class is part of this project, and start to separate everything so that there is real ownership of the metadata. So here is a quick overview about what we did. So I'm a consulting partner, so I did it at several clients' place. So it's more generic overview. But at my current client, what we did is that we didn't want to start too big, because we started like a year ago. DX was already, it was quite new. So we didn't want to move everything to DX right now. So we could start with a very small project. It was an internal tool for us developer. So that was pretty cool because we used the platform, but it was not really linked to other metadata around, so no link with account or opportunity or whatever. And we were the own user of the app, so if something was crashing, at least it was not that bad. So we started very, very small, and it worked quite fine. So then we started to use it for, let's say, a real project. And it was an app that was used for all employees, that has a few dependencies, starting to use objects like account and objects that are shared across several projects. But we started also quite small, so we created only one package, and we put everything we need inside, so account and the custom field and everything. We used packaging too, it was OK too. And then where we are now, we started to add another project to the DX. So we have 2 repo, 2 DX projects. And we started to change where dependency was in a package. So previously, I have everything in a big package. Then I started to add a second project, and I removed some stuff to see what was common between the two. For instance, in account, there are some fields that are common to all the projects. There are some custom objects, that are common to all the projects, like util stuff or Apex utils class. We put all of this in one base package. And then the 2 projects, we did a dependency on the base package. So that's like refactoring as we go. We didn't start it like with the whole picture, like, oh, it's a very big org, it will be very complicated to split everything. We started very small, and incrementally, we started to refactor everything so that our DX projects are looking fine. So just a quick overview about how we are working with DX right now. The idea is that we are not using Sandbox anymore, at least for development. All developers are, so you are using TFS, which is we have a Git repo on it, and we use it for continuous integration and deployment. Every developer will just get the source code from the repo, create a scratch org on the fly, let's say on Monday morning, and start working on it. And once they finish their work, they will push back to TFS that will run a lot of tests. And if everything is fine, it will deploy to a sandbox so that we can perform UAT testing for end user. So scratch org are only used at our place for development, but then we switch back to a sandbox where it's the real production environment, whereas scratch org is just a part of it. So that we can be sure that in sandbox, if it's working and validated by the business, it will be OK to deploy in production later. So the cool thing with DX is that we can really implement continuous integration and continuous deployment. So what we did here is that when a developer is pushing to TFS, we are running some tests to be sure that the package is OK. Because sometimes when you develop in a sandbox, you don't know, maybe you just add a new mandatory field or validation rule, and you don't run test class all the time. So maybe you just broke everything with a new mandatory field, but you will only know when you try to deploy later. So here you have your package, your code, you push it to TFS that will run several tests. So we have SonarCube, or we are running all test class that we can be sure that the package we push to the repo is working. So it can happen that sometimes it's failed. So if it fails, just the developer will know it right now. He will push, do something else, receive an email from TFS saying the build has failed, and we'll just have a look and fix it right now. You will see the error now, and not in like 2 weeks when you try to deploy in production. And well, if all the tests are working correctly, well, that's fine. You can just go out and have a beer, so you are happy. So here is what we have right now. So we have a base package, and we have 2 project packages, and we are not so far doing exactly the same thing. The base package is important because everything depends on it. So I don't want to start working on a project and that I'm not using the right version of the package. I added a new field. It's in the new version of the base package. It's not installed yet everywhere, like in a UAT sandbox or stuff like that. So at the beginning, everything was manual for installation of package. Well, when I say manual, it's just I go to TFS and I click on a button. It was not automated. And we had several issues with the base package never being updated correctly, so we really had we took some time to create some very good tests on the base package. So now we are pretty confident about it. So that means that every time we push to the repo, our tests are pretty solid. So if it's OK, if the tests are passing, we deploy the base package on everywhere. So dev sandbox, because there is another team that is still using sandbox, UAT, and pre-production. So I do my code, I push it to TFS, tests are running, it will deploy automatically everywhere, except production. And for the project package, it's still something that we are working on. We are not that confident yet, but we have the good experience with the base package. So far, it will install automatically. Let's say if I create a scratch org, I will get the last version of the package. But all the other steps are still manual, because we want to take some time and be sure that our tests are OK and we don't deploy bad code everywhere. So actually, we use our own tool, which has it's a TFS with a Git repo on SonarCube. But the cool thing with DX is that you can actually use whatever you want. So if you want to use Bitbucket instead of Git or GitHub, or you can use Jenkins. So the tool, you will have your code in your repo, and then it's a repo like anyone else, like I don't know, a Node.js or whatever. You just run whatever you want on it. So it's up to you to use all the tools you want. So the important thing is that, well, to me, DX is not an all or nothing stuff. It's not like we need to migrate everything. It's like, oh, I have a giant org. How will I do to create lots of packages, to create a scratch org with everything? We just did start small so that the team could just start working on it. Because also, well, I don't know for your project, but usually Salesforce developer may not be used to even Git. So it's quite a change to move from a sandbox-based development to a DX development. So starting small, it's pretty cool because your developer can start using it, make a few mistakes, fixing the CI and everything, and you get over the time a good development flow. So actually, even now, we don't have everything in DX. So we have some project like the base package, which is we use sandbox, we use scratch org development, we deploy with packaging too, unlock packages. We have some other project where we are using sandbox, scratch org development, but still using Ant to deploy. Because if you use a packaging tool, we need to have all the dependencies. The package should be self-contained, so no dependency missing. So some project is not possible yet, so we are still using Ant to deploy. And some others are just not in DX at all. So still sandbox and Ant. And everything is working fine. So the idea is that in the near future, we'll migrate everything to DX, but we are not there yet. So a few reasons why. For instance, so far we are using a community, and there are a few stuff that are not part of the metadata API. So for those who know community, there is audience that you can create an audience that you will assign a page layout to it. Audience is not part of the metadata. That means that every time I create a scratch org, I need to do it manually again. I think this is fixed in winter 19, so I will have to have a look again. So there are a few things like this. If it's not automated in the scratch org, and you need to take 15 minutes to set up stuff, I think it's not worth currently to move this part of the project to DX. Another thing is that we are working with several teams, and there are some like companies that are there with us. It's not the same project, not the same team. And these guys, they have a fixed price, a project to deliver, a deadline, and they just don't want to go to DX right now. So we haven't moved everything for some reason, but still we can start, and we can work together perfectly. So you can start using DX even with a small subset of metadata or a small project. So one thing is that when you start to use several packages, so like my base packages and project packages, you will have to set up a dependency. So here I have my base package, 2 projects, and I can't really install project 1 package if I haven't installed the base package before. So when you create your definition file for your project, you need to say, OK, I have a dependency to this package, and you will specify which package it depends on. This is, so far, in this JSON file, only used by Salesforce, which is when you create a package, I will create a new version of my project 1 package. Salesforce will have a look to the dependencies and create the new unlock packages by checking that the dependencies are correct and that no metadata is missing. But then you need to use this also when you create your scratch org, because you don't want your developer to come in the morning, create a scratch org, and manually install the base package before being able to start working. And even your continuous integration and deployment, you don't want it to install. You want it to be automatic. So far, at the beginning, what I had was, so this is sfdx project.json. You can see there is a dependency flag with a base package. And here, there is the version of the package. So one thing that is still painful for now is that you need to specify which version I depend on. So if I depend on version 1.1 of the base package, next time I will update to 1.2, I need to come here and update this ID. I can't say like a minimum version. I need to specify the exact version. So that's sort of OK, except that this ID is also hard-coded in my CI because I need it when I do my testing. And it's also written hard-coded in a script file I have to automatically create my scratch org for my developers. So it's written 3 times. So every time I update the base package, I need to go to the other repo and update 3 IDs, which is quite painful because it's already in here. But my other scripts are somewhere else. So what we did, so that yeah, it's quite painful. So what we did is that we created a SFDX plugin. So what is cool with the SFDX CLI is that you can create your own plugins to it. So maybe Salesforce will upgrade this later, but I want this now. So it took me a few days. It's quite easy. I created just one plugin that will read the JSON file we saw before and look at the dependency and use it for scratch org creation and CI. So that means that next time I need to update my base package ID, I will only update the JSON file with the new ID, and all the other scripts will just use this plugin to like parse the JSON, find the ID, and install it automatically. So a few notes on Trailhead. If you haven't had a look, I highly recommend them. It's pretty cool. There is a whole module, a whole trail with lots of modules on DX and even Git or unlock packages. And there are a few hands-on. It's pretty cool. So if you don't know anything about unlock packages, have a look to Trailhead, and you will have a very good overview of what is unlock packages. A few resources. I will post the slides on the chatter page of the session, so you can have them. There is the first one that's pretty cool. That is a blog series from Salesforce Developer Blog. That I think it's 5 blog posts about how to migrate to Salesforce DX, how to separate your metadata into separate projects and packages. So this one is very interesting. And the second one is a session that was made at Trailhead DX, which explains you how it's a real life use case about how to take your whole metadata and separate it in lots of different packages. So this is really interesting. And right on time. Thank you.